Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from wherever you're watching me around the world. Welcome to the SA Show. My name is Sheung Akinlota, and I will be your host for today. So, who is here? Wumi Akintoke is here. Omolola is here. Yes, and we're ready. We're ready to dive right in. We have a very special guest today. But before we get started, I would encourage you to click the link for this session and go ahead and share with your friends and family. We need everyone to get in here so that they can listen to the story of our guest. And I'm going to introduce our guest right away. As you're joining in, leave your name and your location so I can give you a shout out. So our topic for today is overcoming addiction and living a life of significance. So, there's this part of addiction, and then there's this part whereby our guest was delivered and he was able to move on to live a life of significance. Whatever it is that you might be struggling with, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's womanizing, whatever it is, know that you can definitely get out of it. And our guest is here to share his own story of faith, determination, and breakthrough. Today, we have Ariel Tolentino on the hot seat. He was an undergraduate. He was actually studying aeronautical engineering. He was financially unstable, especially in the early years of his marriage. In his adolescence, he started doing drugs and alcohol. He was always in debt. He was evicted from schools and homes. He had to go through hardships, and then he found his breakthrough. So he's going to tell us a story. I would say stay tuned so that you can hear this amazing story of transformation. Welcome, Ariel Tolentino. Thank you. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing fine. Thank
Awesome.
you for having me.
And thank you for accepting our invitation. Everyone needs to hear your story because it's compelling and also inspiring. Thank you for your willingness to share your story with us, and thank you for accepting our invitation. We have people here. I see Tolulope Shoboyejo, Oluwatosin Arojuju from Ireland, and I also see Rebecca Sugar. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Mr. Tolentino, Mr. Significant. I love that name. I love that name, Mr. Significant. So I'm going to stay on that. Thank you for accepting our invitation. And thank you for allowing God to use you. We're really glad to have you on board. So could you please introduce yourself to our audience? Who is Mr. Tolentino? Who is Mr. Significant? Introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Hi, good morning from where I am. My name is Ariel Tolentino. I'm 47 years old. I'm a father of three beautiful children and a husband to only one gorgeous wife. Um, I am from the other side of the planet. I am from the Philippines, the beautiful Philippines. So it's 3 a.m. here. So good morning.
Good morning. 3 a.m. That's a big sacrifice. I couldn't believe that you are 13 hours ahead of us right here in Philadelphia, 13 hours ahead. And thank you so much for the sacrifice. We truly, truly appreciate you coming on board. I'm not going to waste much time. I want to dive right in because I want to soak in every part of the story. So now, Mr. Significant, you started taking drugs when you were 16, if I'm correct, or even before that, as a student studying aeronautical engineering. How did you get started? How did you start that journey What led you into taking drugs and using meth? Because I was reading and I found out that between 19 between 1999 and 2018, 67,300 Americans died from taking meth. That's a lot of people. And many more are still alive, but they are not really living good life. So, what made you think of trying it out? How did you get started?
Well, I was born and raised from a poor family here in Pasig. We call it Pasig. I remember back when I was a child, we used to have my father used to run a gambling den, mahjong. If you're familiar with mahjong, playing cards and all sorts of that
Yeah.
vices. So during my childhood days, I was really exposed to not so good influences and environment. Sometimes the players they would ask me to buy cigarettes for them, buy beer for them. I remember I was 8 or 9
Wow.
years old back then in our home, in our small home because our home is really small. So from there on, I move on to um, drinking beer and
At what
alcohol.
age?
Um, I I started the drinking at age 11, and I smoked 11 or 12. So when I was in first year high school, I never really focused on studying. In fact, during my elementary days, I skipped classes. I just
Elementary
played.
days?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in a public school.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just do my thing. I don't have anything serious to do, so I just play. I go back to the gambling den after school, and then I watch the players, so I know how to play match,
Gamble.
gamble, yeah, all sorts of gambling.
Okay. So your dad had a gambling business and you had no choice than to be around it. Was anyone around you worried at that time when you started drinking alcohol from age 11? Did anyone try to stop you? Or was it something that you were being sneaky about and nobody knew that you were actually doing those things?
Yeah, nobody knew. In fact, I will not yet go into the house until my father went out or my mom. So it's really something that I kept for myself, and of course for my friends who are also doing same things with me. So it's a secret. It's a top secret.
Top secret. So it's amazing how kids can actually hide things from their parents. Once you found out that you were hooked, because this is an highly addictive habit, did you take any steps to address the problem, or were you just living life like, okay, whatever happens, I'm fine? And did you take any steps? Were you scared that this problem is going to lead you even into greater problems? And if you did, I just wanted to know because it's something that is worrisome for a parent to have a child right under their nose and they don't know what is going on in the life of that child.
Yeah, the problem is that I did not look at it or see it as a problem. In fact, to be honest, I enjoyed it very much because when you take math, at first there's a feeling of nirvana. You feel delighted. It stimulates your mind, so you keep on thinking. You feel good about it. You feel like to be honest, I feel like handsome, something like that. I feel extra confident, something like that. So that's the problem. It's not that when you take it at first, your mind will be open to the bigger problem. So you will think you need to stop it. No, you will crave for more. In fact, so that's the danger of taking meth. It's not that it can easily be stopped.
Wow. So, and you're so right. So, if you don't know that you have a problem, how would you seek for help and getting
Mhm.
help out of that problem? That is amazing. But then something happened in your college. You were kicked out of college. How did you break the news to your parents, and how did you react to that news? You were kicked out of school because they said, we can't have this type of student here.
Oh yeah. Well, at first I failed on my analytical geometry subject, so I flunked that subject. So what happened is that I have a long vacant. So my last subject in the morning is 10 a.m. and then my next subject is 3 p.m. because I lost the blocking of the classes. So my
Okay.
time is broken. I have a friend who invited me to his home. So that's where I first tasted the meth. I didn't know that that was meth because I'm just only 16 years old. So I think it's an ordinary cigarette or something. But since I am have my vices already, so I just take it and then I felt good and cut the long story short, I stopped I didn't go to school anymore. The tuition fee that my parents gave me, I told them I was hold up, so I did not pay the school, and I spent it all for drugs.
So you
And
didn't pay tuition. You used the money for tuition to buy drugs, and you weren't going to classes. What were you thinking of? What did you think would happen? Did you think a miracle would happen and you would magically graduate, or what was the game plan?
well, I had this experience way back in high school. I remember vividly. I was practicing for graduation when my advisory teacher stopped me and told me, "Why are you practicing for graduation? Who told you that you're going to graduate? Didn't you know that you fail your subjects and all of that? So I need you to bring your parents in my office and I need to talk to them." So what I did, I was high school then. I talked to one elderly friend and I asked her to pretend as my aunt
To
because I
pretend,
know that, yeah,
because they told you to bring
maybe,
your parents, and you knew that if you took your parents to school, the cat will be let out of the bag. So you decided to look for someone in the community to act as your aunt.
yeah,
That is,
that's
how did you
crazy.
think of that? How did you come up with such an idea?
Well, as a human species, we actually mimic all those people which we deem the leader. So I've been seeing that from my other friends. They are doing that, so I just copied them. And frankly speaking, I'm afraid that my father will beat me when he discovered that I did not go to school and I'm not going to graduate.
Mhm.
So mixed situation. So I came up with a brilliant idea of doing that. So, but
Brilliant
I'm
indeed.
not advising the audience to do that. It's a no,
Yeah.
no, no thing looking back now.
Yes. So
So
most
when,
of the people watching, they are matured, but I love the fact that you're vulnerable and you're sharing this story because most of us are probably parents or would be parents in the future. And these are some of the things that we need to look out for in our own children to make sure that they are on the right path. Sometimes we don't even need to wait until someone from school sends them home to bring their parents. We can always check in with their teachers. I know back in the days, probably we didn't have cell phones, so there was no way your parents would really know. But now we have cell phones, we have emails. People should be reaching out to their teachers, the teachers of their children, to make sure that just check in. I'm just checking in. How is XYZ doing in school? Because you never can tell. You never can tell. So when you were expelled from uni, what did you do afterwards? Did you decide to get married? And by the time you got married, how did you think that the marriage would work, given the fact that you were engaged in drug addiction? Did you tell your wife about it, or did she know before you got married, or it was something that you were hiding from her as well?
Well, after that incident, uh, back in my college days, I stopped studying. I was kicked out of the house for 3 years. I just went from one house of my friend to another house. I cannot come back because although sometimes I visit my mother, I would wait again for my father to be out, and my mom will tell me, "Okay, you can visit now." Sometimes there are incidents that my mom will give me clothes, something like that. So I found myself not just um, taking drugs, but I found myself selling drugs in campuses. So I've been pushing it in small amounts,
Hmm.
18, 19 years old. So my life has been like violently, no direction. I chase girls. Yeah, that's it. Sex, drugs, and violence. That's most of my teenage up to early or late 20s went. So that's how my life was. So when um, my wife now, when I courted her, I still have an ongoing relationship with another woman. So that's how naughty I am. So I don't have plan of divulging or telling it to her that I'm into drugs. Of course, she will not accept me as a boyfriend, right?
So
So
she didn't know.
no, no, I hid it from her actually.
Wow. Okay. So you were courting her and she didn't know that you were doing this. Of course, if she knew, she wouldn't have said yes. So
Yeah,
you
definitely.
planned all these things step by step. Like, I'm going to get this woman. So thinking back now, for people that might be single and they're thinking of, getting married, how can they avoid such? How can they avoid getting into a relationship whereby the man is hiding something as big as drug addiction from the woman?
Well, that's a tough question to answer. Primarily because I cannot stereotype every situation, but
Mm-hmm.
you get to really know your partner deeply before really saying your yes to him or to her. Because looking now, um, from what I did, it was really intentionally just to take advantage of women because before I really just think of myself, me, myself, and I really don't think of how
Any
people
other
will.
person.
Yeah, I don't really care about what people will tell me. What's important is that I
You
feed
get
my
what you want. It's about
desire.
you. It's about me, myself, and I. Isn't that what the world is preaching these days? You hear talks about self love, self this, self that. And a lot of people seem not to want to take other people's feelings into consideration. It's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. Wumi Akintoke says that mothers never give up on a child, even if that child has totally lost it. And I agree. Mothers don't give up. They still have that hope that my child will come back to his or her senses one day. Something positive can still come from that situation. And that is so true. So shout out to your mom for always giving you that room and the opportunity to come back home to encourage you and to help you. And I'm sure that at those times she was actually praying for you. She was praying for you. So after you got married and all this was ongoing, I'm sure your wife got to know at some point you were smoking, you were gambling, you were drinking, you had extramarital affairs. How would you describe your life at that time?
Well, my wife really suffered the most. To begin with, uh, I'm a high school graduate. She's during that time she's into law school. She already graduated. Most of the time she earns much than I am having because I'm just working in a small company. I'm a messenger in a local pier here,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the beratings, the verbal abuse, and the physical abuse that she's having. So I really honor my wife for staying strong and sticking with me up to this point. But uh, the typical couple getting started, you will run into heated arguments. It's like in the movie when you see someone, a couple arguing, and then the woman will throw something at the man. So we experience that, and our neighbor knows about our situation. So yeah, it's really embarrassing to look back at what I did, and most of the times, my birthday, Christmas, New Year, special occasion, I spend it outside of my family because I look for friends who are also into drugs, and so we jam. Special occasion, I spend most of my time with my friends who are also taking drugs. So yeah, that's how it is. It was for my wife back then. So,
Wow. So you were never there or almost never there for your family. When it was celebration time, you found joy going outside of the house, talking to friends. Now, let's talk about when you were about to, when your wife was in labor and she was about to give birth to your last child. And then she was losing blood, I believe, and the doctor told you to get a drug named Cyotec. Please describe that event and what happened afterwards.
uh, I guess this will be the hardest question for this interview or show because it's like really asking me to go back to those memory where I regretted the most part of my life because during that moment I had one of my girlfriend pregnant. So when the doctor told me that I need to buy the drug for my wife because according to the OB-GYN doctor that my wife that taking care of my wife is 50-50. She might not survive the operation because it's our third child, and she had two prior cesarean operation, so it's her third time to have cesarean, and so the uterus, according to the doctor, is not contracting, and they cannot close the wound. So I need to buy blood first, and I need to buy the drug side effect. And it reminds me how evil I was then because when I got my other woman pregnant, I brought her to the abortionist, but it's a good thing that the abortionist was not available. And I got an advice from a friend that the drug side effect can dissolve the blood in the womb because my other woman is 2 months delayed, I think, if I'm still accurate. And so that was really something I am not proud of because now um, I am really for woman empowerment and just going through that terrible thing of trying to kill your own flesh without hesitation is really something that every time I think of it, I just curse myself. I wish I did not have to undergo such situation like that. But again, those are in the past. I believe that it also happened for a purpose and a reason, but just to be straight about this situation, I'm not proud of what I did. if I can turn back the time, I would never do that. But yeah, and so when I about to buy the prescription drug, I was quiet for a while. I was thinking about how selfish I am, and I was contemplating on how really what's the situation. The drug that I plan to use to abort my child to another woman will be the same drug that will save my wife. So you just see the emotions there, and yeah, that's to me that is one point where I think I it started. Ariel, what are you doing to your life? You have a beautiful family. You have a beautiful wife. She's in the room, and for crying out loud, what are you doing to your life? So yeah, that's what going on in my mind that time, and it's really a hard situation. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Your wife is truly a strong woman. She truly loves you for sticking with you all through these years. Tolu Lokpa says, Og's brother, you're very strong. I celebrate you. Thanks for sharing despite all. Fumbi Fadigba Alfred says, thanks for sharing, Mr. Significant. God bless you, your mother, and your wife. At this point, we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to hear the story of how you began your healing and then how you got on the road to being significant. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, my name is Sheon Akinloton and this is the SA Show. Today we're discussing overcoming addiction and going on to living a life of significance. My guest today is Ariel Tolentino and is sharing a story of how he overcame addiction and right now how he's living a life of significance. So Mr. Ariel, Mr. Significant, I don't want to use Ariel again. Mr. Significant, when your wife came back home after delivering the baby, she decided that she was going to end the marriage. How did you react to that? What did you do when she said she's done? Like, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. What happened?
Yeah, I believe I pushed her to the wall because when we got home from the hospital, I invited some friends to want to see the baby to congratulate me. So we had our usual drinking spree, and then when the time came to for my friends to leave the house, so I went with them. I didn't go back for 1 or 2 days because we had our drug session again. And so when I came
You
back,
you
what's
did work, so your friends came to the house to celebrate, and when they were leaving, you left with them for 2 days, and then you left your wife at home to take care of the baby herself.
yes, that's the point where
What were you thinking of? What's I'm trying to wrap it around my head.
yeah, during those days I'm still I'm not trying to justify anything here, just for the
Mhm.
record. I'm just saying that um, I cannot think straight because that's really what is happening to those who are addicted. That's why
Addicted.
you
So
can
you
do.
just don't know what you're doing. It's like you're just living life. You are oblivious of how much you are hurting other people.
Yeah, you know when you're into drugs and when the topic among your friends is about drugs, there's something from your gut that will excite you, and then you you will your mind will focus more on, you will imagine that the pot session that you will be having, the feeling again of taking the drugs, etc. So what surprised me is that when I got home again, instead of my wife shouting at me or nagging me or fighting against me, she's not talking as if I'm dead. And when she finally said something, she just said, "I had it. I can take on the physical pain, but the emotional trauma, I cannot bear it any longer because it's really killing me now," something like that. And so, very civilly, she said to me, after the baptism of our son, Anton, I already spoken to my mother, and we will go to her together with the three children, and that's it. So I have arranged an annulment because in the Philippines we don't have divorce, so she's filing for an annulment.
Annulment of the marriage.
Yeah, that's what I remember in that situation, and it really struck me the most because for the first time of being selfish all the time in my life.
Hmm.
It's like I started 16 years old, and I believe I was already 33, 34 during that time. So it's
That's
almost
like
like
17 years after.
17 years after, I'm still that kind of bad guy who treat my family with no respect at all. So that is the first time that it dawned on me that shock, I will lose my family. So I'm at a loss, and I didn't really frankly know what to do during that time. It didn't sink. I was in denial stage because I know my wife. She will get mad, but she will forgive me. She will get mad. She will forgive me. But this time she's not mad. So that's what makes me crazy. You're not mad, and yet here you are. You are telling me now that the marriage is over. So
Yes, because she was fed up and she felt like it's not worth it anymore. And she probably had a game plan of how she was going to move out and move on. So, how did you resolve that issue? How did you get over that situation? And how did you start your process of healing?
yeah, so after that incident, a day, a week, I cannot really remember exactly how many days it was. So I went to our community church to register for the baptism of my son, my youngest son,
Mhm.
and something whispered to me. I don't know. I cannot say that that was the Holy Spirit back then because I'm not used to praying, because as you can see my whole life was really a mess. But I inquire about couples for Christ. Sometimes I see in a car stick from the windshield at the back of the car a
Yes.
sticker saying couples for Christ. So I inquired about couples for Christ. And the bad news there was no couples for Christ in that church at that time, and they were referring me to another church from a different city.
Mm-hmm.
And so I inquired, and well, the miracle started. There was indeed a couples for Christ, but the bad news is that how can I go back to my wife and tell her, we can fix this. We will attend this couple seminar or something like that. And I cannot really convince her now because she was really, really decided to part ways with me. So that's really hard for me back then. So
Wow. All right. So you found this church, you decided to go for this program. So how did you bring your wife along? How did you go back to your wife?
she's really not. She stopped listening to me. That's no. For one, she was never really minding me because to her it was really over. But sometimes there are really just things that you cannot really just explain in details what just happened. But I think to me, looking back now, to me that is the hand of the Lord that's really working there because after several attempts of encouraging her to, hey, you have forgiven me so many times. Why
Hmm.
not forgive me again? And so I just, after I stopped convincing her, and finally she said she will come with me to the program. They call it Christian Life Program. It's a 12-week, every Saturday program conducted by Couples for Christ. I really don't have idea. Nobody invited me. I didn't think that it was really the Lord back then. What's important for me, this is another chance to
To save
be
your
really,
marriage.
yeah, that's the main point here. I'm not really sure what is the Lord is leading me to, but the fact that my wife agreed to attend to me now, it's really something that I can call a miracle.
Wow. Wow. I'm short of words. I don't know what to say, but I really appreciate your wife for sticking by you and our willingness to make it work. See how beautiful everything has turned out to be. And that brings me back to when you are going through troubles, trials, and tribulations, what we do in those moments, they are truly important. I don't know your wife, but she is indeed a strong woman and she deserves to be carried like an egg for the rest for the rest of this union and this marriage. Just treat her like an egg, very special, and she's amazing. She's amazing. And I'm sure at some point, maybe when your kids were younger, they did witness some of those things. And did you have a chance to talk to the kids about this afterwards? And did you apologize to the kids? Did you say you were sorry? Did you tell them that?
You know what? There are moments when their teacher will just call me and they will tell me that your daughter is not really that. What do you call that? Yeah, she's not speaking. She's into. They can see something's different, or my daughter is in trouble because of maybe the witnessing of everyday fighting in the family.
Violence and
They are witnessing how I hurt physically their mom, and so when I came to the teacher and I told her that there's nothing wrong happening in the house. I've been used to lying, so but now every time I will have a chance to share my story, I can see that I have been forgiven by my children. In fact, my biography was written by my children. So now, I'm not proud to say that their dad is a former drug addict. At
mhm,
least, I really find forgiveness from my own family. And so right now we are happily living as an ordinary family with an extraordinary mission of showing us as an example that hey, whatever it is that is happening in your family, if you put God in the center of your family, you will not be perfect because God is perfect,
perfect.
but yeah, but you can face day-to-day life with love and compassion. And so yeah, to me that's the most important lesson that I've learned. I was forgiven by my own family.
Did you ask for forgiveness?
Not formally, but during the graduation of the Christian Life program, although my children back then was Joaquin, that time was 1 year, turning 1 year, and Jana is, I believe, 9 or 10. So I
Mhm.
did ask for forgiveness first to their mom and to my mother-in-law, because my mother-in-law really knows what is happening to her daughter. So she's really mad at me. She wanted to plot to kill me. Although I don't know if she's planning that, but she really wants to get her daughter out of my
Out of that situation.
out of that situation. So yeah, I did ask for forgiveness, and now it's easy for me to ask for forgiveness. In fact, I always say sorry.
Mhm.
I sorry, thank you, I love you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So Ifebakbo says she's asking a question. She said, what was the process of recovery? Was it just one off or a continuous process? What were the practical steps that you took? And we have that on the screen. So she's really looking for details of how. I know you said you went to this Christian life program. What
Yeah.
happened during the program?
Yeah, you know how stubborn I am. That's why my wife, in the first place, doesn't want to go with me in that program, because she knows when if she forgives me, I will go back to my old ways. And true enough, even when we are attending that 12-week Saturday, every Saturday night Christian life program, I still smoke. And sometimes when I attend, I'm still drunk. There's just this stupidity in me that really stick in my mind and in my brain. And so, what the good news about this program? It's not just a 12-week work program or the Christian Life program. After that, that is just the start of really engaging couple who are into trouble like us, because the elders um, will call you, will really show that they care for you. And after that, we will have a regular weekly prayer meeting to the couple who attended the Christian Life program. So even now, we still have our weekly prayer meeting, although now it's online. Yeah, but to answer, it is a continuous process. Every day we grow. We are a work in progress, and we grow every day, not in a day. As our mentor John Maxwell would say, yeah,
So,
that's it.
yeah, thank you for that answer. So, I still want to get something out of it. So, you went to this program, you decided that you needed to stop taking drugs. Did you have to see a doctor or a therapist, or was it just from church that this miracle happened?
During the days when I was still heavy on drugs, my family, even when I was not yet married, they tried to rehabilitate me for twice. So, of course, number one, those who are suffering from drug addiction, they need professional help. But more importantly, those who are helping those who are addicted, they needed more professional help, because sometimes as from what I have experienced, I really stopped listening to my parents. So if you're a parent and you are trying to say something to your son or your daughter who is into addiction,
Mm-hmm.
they will never listen to you. They have long stopped listening to you. So you need to really see them from the space that they are really into right now. Number one, they are not thinking straight. Their decision making is affected by that chemical that they are inducing to themselves. So again, you need professional help, and more importantly, you need to not lose hope and not give up to your son or daughter because they are really into trouble. They might not see it as a trouble, but they're, as we can see from the statistic that you have said, lives will be wasted because of this. There will be deaths. And that is why I'm saying it's really a miracle because I am not just saved, I am redeemed.
Wow. So you're saying that parents should not give up on their children. Absolutely, I agree. It's so hard when you are in those shoes and you don't even know what to do or where to seek for help. So I hear you. I hear you talk about seeking professional help. Where will people find this help? Because I've heard stories of people running away from where they were supposed to be receiving that professional help. So, what tips would you like to share? Especially not just, sometimes maybe if the child started doing this thing, and the parents were able to spot it early on, they would have been able to nip it in the bud. So I want you to share two different strategies. What is one strategy that you would share with parents that might help them to identify this problem early enough so that they can get help for their kids? And then another tip for people that are neck deep into doing this, what steps should they take? Because it's highly embarrassing and it can be confusing, it can be very stressful for family members to help someone that doesn't think they need help.
Yeah. That's the big problem then there. But from my story, because we have really different stories of how they started their drug addiction. Me, I was influenced by my environment. I saw my two brothers; they also take drugs. One of them attempted to take his own life. My eldest brother, he's Romeo, and so it's in my small environment where I see people doing that. So to me back then, it's a normal thing to do because
Normal.
everybody's doing that. So for those on the early stage, they need to cleanse with, they need to clean the environment. Um, if you can take them to another place, that because that's what I have experienced. I was taken away from our place. I was brought into a province where I will have no access to buy or talk to somebody with drug addiction. So that helped. But when I came back again to our home in Pasig, the environment again, so I have access again. Again, I'm not yet healed that time. So I yeah, I did stop for 2 years, I believe, but I continued again until I get married. And yeah, the turning point is that when my family is to be taken away, I push them. They are not being taken away. I'd like to correct that. I push them away. So that is my turning point because really, I believe now that that moment when I inquired about the program, I think to me that was the Holy Spirit now. I firmly believe that it was the message from the Lord that I will save your family because I love you. I will not allow you to perish like that. And so we are now having this kind of conversation.
Absolutely, because you're going to go ahead and share your story around the world to inspire and encourage other people. So I have a question. Now that everything is over, how many years have you been completely drug free?
Well, that's a good question. Starting 2007, I stopped smoking. Drinking, I continued for a year. Occasionally, I still drink, but I don't drink alcohol anymore. I drink red wine. So 2007, what years to 2021? So how many years? 14, I think.
14 years. 14
Yeah,
years.
14 years.
So 14 years you've been free. I'm so happy for you, and I'll say congratulations. I know that our time is fast spent, but I also wanted to ask you a few more questions. So one of the questions I wanted to ask is that I know back then you had extramarital affairs. How were you able to cut off those relationships? Did your wife know about them? So I just wanted to know how you were able to break yourself free from every vice. You were able to overcome debt. And but let's talk about the extramarital affairs. How were you able to cut yourself off of those things?
Well, um, I think it's, well, I will not say it's normal to a guy to, to be involved into extramarital affair. But speaking from my experience, I easily get attracted to beautiful ladies, and so it just a look at a woman, I will have an idea if that woman will be interested also in me. And so I do all sort of things. I remove my wedding ring, and just to take advantage really, because back in the days when I was selling drugs, sometimes if a woman doesn't have money to pay for the drug, they will pay it with sex with me. So that's how evil I was. And again, I'm not proud of it, but that's is well or started. I started having collection of pornographic materials. If you're younger than me, but in my days we have this what you call Betamax and VHS tape. So I have all of those. But right now you can easily have access to pornographic materials. But yeah, it influenced me to be that not that ideal man that I was supposed to be, because I am married. Sometimes it's an advantage to me if my other woman's also married, because I'm thinking that if I got her pregnant, I will not be blamed, or I would they will not have an idea that I was the one who. Yeah, that's sorry to admit that, but that's just who I am before, and so I just want to be authentic in sharing my story.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to offend anyone, but yeah, I ask for forgiveness. Again, I feel
And you're
guilty.
forgiven. You're
Yeah.
forgiven. Your wife is truly an amazing person, and she's strong, she's forgiving. Whew, she's everything. And thank you for sharing that. So you've not answered my question. I asked how did you start the process of cutting yourself off from those type of habits?
Okay. Yeah. In the program, um, after the Christian Life program, you will have to undergo weekly prayer meeting, and then when the time comes to have another Christian Life program, you will be asked either to share, to be an assistant facilitator, or to be facilitator. So when the time comes when I was asked to be a facilitator, I it came to a point that, hey, these are other people's lives,
Mm-hmm.
and you really need to not just practice what you preach, but to not ask someone to do something that you are
That
not
you're
doing.
not doing.
Yeah, and just to lead by example. And to me back then it was natural thing. I mean, the way I stopped smoking, I did not have any struggle with that. That's one thing that I attributed to, maybe that is how the Holy Spirit worked with me, because I did not take any more cigarettes. And maybe it's the same with what happened to those extramarital affair. I look at women now with respect. I look at them as the light of the family. In fact, every morning when I pray to Jesus that, Lord, thank you for giving me the light of this family. although I am the head of the family, but my wife is really the one who is taking care of our children. And so now, with all respect and admiration, that
Yeah,
is how I started to look at women very differently.
than
Yeah, so
than
that's how the values and the culture and the respect and the love that I it's not magic, but it started there to have respect to other people, not just for
yeah,
women, but
for
yeah, to
everyone.
yeah, for everyone. So that's how I see the world right now. Different color, different races, different perspective, different views, opinion, political beliefs, or religion. I give them my respect. That's how I start the conversations to give respect.
Give respect. I love that. Wow, our time is fast spent, and I wish we had more time to keep going. Ifeda Kwadioye says, great advice. Not only those who need rehabilitation need professional help, but also their loved ones need rehabilitation and professional help. So basically, she's repeating what you said about family members of those who need help. Those family members also should seek professional help because it's tough to deal with someone that you don't know how to deal with them. So that's and someone said you look so young. Yes, I think I mentioned that as well. And another person's Titi says, thank God for your wife. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to take a trip down memory lane back to your 16-year-old self when you were in college. You were actually in college to study aeronautical engineering. You were kicked out of college basically because of your behavior. If you take a trip down memory lane, what will you do differently?
I would just listen to my mom
Yeah,
because that's where the trouble came from. Because I just did. I'm not used to being tell what to do, but now, as I remember my mom, we are a poor family. My mom used to do laundry for other people to get paid. That's how she lived most of her life. We call it labandera. So you do the laundry for other people for a price, and sometimes she cook for other people. She iron clothes
she
for
was
other
really
people.
working hard. Yes.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like, but she never really complained about life. She would often tell me, um, always remember where you came from. So I cannot forget that words. Always remember where you came from, and to be respectful of others, and to look at life with hope. And yeah, and for my father, she never really witnessed this transformation that I have, because um, before he passed away, he visited me in my it was my birthday. He visited me. He never really do that. I'm surprised that he was there. But I would just like to pray for my dad. He taught me things kind of different way, but I have learned a lot from him. Things that I would not allow my children to experience now. But
Hmm.
my regret is that how I wish that they were able to.
To witness the transformation.
Yeah, because
How happy would it have been?
yeah, back then they were just I'm the cause of their headache and all the troubles that they are
Brought
hearing
upon
from
them.
me. Yeah, and so yeah, thank you for
Wow.
them. Thank you for them, and I'm sorry I did that to them. I was able. I was able. I was never able to patch up things with my father. So that's the one thing that I regret the most, because he passed away. And my mom also passed away already, but my mom at least witnessed that I am now a member of Couples for Christ. And then she was happy with me. But
Hmm.
she had a heart attack and then she passed away 11 years ago.
May their souls rest in peace.
Mhm.
I wish we could go on, but our time is fast spent. So I would say in 30 seconds, what else would you like to say?
Ah, life is precious, and now I would just like to share the my favorite Bible verse: "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything
All
shall
your
be
other things shall be added into you.
added unto you." I think that's Matthew 6:33. Because during those times that I was into trouble, I really think of a solution coming from my own mind, from my own
Mm,
ability, from my own skills. There are times that it's okay, but if you put God first at the
every
center of
other
your life,
thing will fall in place.
yeah, God will provide you, because God is a God of forgiveness. He's a God who gives not just blessing but infinite blessing, and He will provide you with the wisdom to decide what is best, not only for you but best to the people who looks upon you and depend on you and who really cares for you. And that is my family. And just like you, I'd like to take this opportunity to praise the Lord, because there is people like you, thousand miles away from me, but who
Yeah.
really wants to put these things up for those people. There's a way out
Hmm.
if you just seek, as is said in Matthew 7:7, knock and the door shall be open.
Ask
I'm
give
not
to
that
you.
good at
Seek
memorizing the
you
Bible
will not
verses,
find.
but there is a God that is in our heart. He will not leave us. We just need to ask Him to guide us and to lead us to the way of prosperity, of peace, of love, and joy. And that's it to me. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank
I
you
appreciate
so
this.
much. This
Giving
has
you a
been
virtual
a
hug.
blessing. Yeah, virtual hug. This
Yeah.
has been a blessing. Thank you so much for taking your time to share. I know it's so early over there. It's around 4 a.m. now, and you staying up, waking up. It's a lot of sacrifice. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story. And my prayer is that God will continue to use you for His glory. He will continue to use you to touch lives in Jesus' name. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for joining. Please continue to share, continue to spread the news. And until next time, I would say be exceptional, be intentional, and be on point. Bye.
Bye.